In this presentation, we try to answer the question, is there a profound continuity between the acts and the precepts of Muhammad and the precepts of Jesus? And is there a profound continuity between the acts and the precepts of Jesus and the precepts of Moses? As we will see below, there is no profound continuity between the acts of Muhammad and the word of Allah in Jesus' mouth, and there is no profound continuity between the acts of Muhammad and the word of Allah in Moses' mouth, while there is a profound continuity between the acts of Jesus and the word of Allah in Moses' mouth. Point 12. And the first proof of that come from the Muslim scholars, who cannot draw upon the word of Allah in Jesus' mouth from the Gospels, to explain Muhammad's acts, while the Christian scholars draw upon the word of Allah in Moses' mouth, in the Torah, to explain Jesus' acts. And we notice that the values and the precepts of Muhammad's teachings differ from, and even contradict, the values and the precepts of Jesus. And that results in a difference in the fruits. That contradiction appears if you look at the 10 commandments that Moses brought from Allah, and more specifically, the 5 of them that concerns society. As was said in the book of Exodus chapter 20, verses 13 to 17, you shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox, or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Jesus clarified that the neighbor is any human being that you find in your way. As was said in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. Jesus did not kill anybody, but he cured the person who had leper. As was said in Luke chapter 5, verses 17 to 26. He resurrected a dead person. As was said in John chapter 11, verses 17 to 44. And he opened the eyes of the man who was born blind. As was said in John chapter 9, verses 1 to 7. He did not commit adultery, and did not sin at all. As he stated in John chapter 8, verse 46, which of you can prove me guilty of sin? If I speak the truth, why do you not believe in me? He did not marry but said to the adulterer woman, neither do I condemn you, go now and do not sin again. As was said in John chapter 8, verses 1 to 11. He never stole anybody, but he taught, in Luke chapter 6, verse 30, give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. He never got rich from the treasures of the earth. As was said in Matthew chapter 8, verses 18 to 20, when Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus replied, Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. And, for explanation, when Jesus says Son of Man, he means himself. He did not bear false witnessing, and never lied to anybody, but he preached in Matthew chapter 5, verse 37, do not swear at all. Let your words be, yes yes, no no, anything more than this comes from the evil. He did not covet anything that belonged to somebody else, but he always gave, and even his life, as he said in John chapter 10, verses 16 to 18, I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also, so they too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. That is why my Father loves me. Because I lay down my life to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. The devil explained Jesus' relationship to the Father of all, as was said in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 7, where Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of Allah, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of Allah." Then the devil took him to the holy city, and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. He said, "If you are the Son of Allah, throw yourself down. For it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord Allah to the test." Also, the demons of the devil clarified this relationship, as was said in Matthew chapter 8, verses 28 to 32, when Jesus arrived at the other side in the region of the Gadarenes, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. They shouted, "What do you want with us, Son of Allah? Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" There was at some distance from them a large herd of pigs, that was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." And Peter declared that Jesus was the Messiah, Son of Allah the living, and Jesus accepted what Peter said, as was said in Matthew chapter 16, verses 15 to 17, where Jesus said to his followers, "And you, who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Messiah, the Son of Allah the living." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven." And Jesus explained his relation to the Father of all, as was said in Mark chapter 14, verses 61 to 62, again the high priest asked him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" And Jesus said, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right of the force, and coming on the clouds of heaven." And Jesus explained that, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon him," as was said in Luke chapter 4, verses 16 to 21, he went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and on the Sabbath day, he went into the synagogue, as was his custom. He stood up to read, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. Unrolling it, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because He has anointed me, to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the broken-hearted, to proclaim freedom for the prisoners, and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him. He began to tell them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." And he clarified his relation to the Father of all. As in John 10, verses 31 to 38, where his Jewish opponents picked up stones, to stone him. But Jesus said to them, "I have shown you many good works from the Father. For which of these do you stone me?" "We are not stoning you for any good work," they replied, "but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God." Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods?" If he called them gods, to whom the word of Allah came, and scripture cannot be set aside, then the one whom the Father sanctified, and sent into the world, will you say to him, "You are blaspheming, because I said, I am the Son of Allah"? Do not believe me unless I do the works of my Father. But if I do them, even though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you may know and understand that, the Father is in me, and I in the Father.